What do you do when she's talking to and texting other men? So you've been talking to a girl, you guys have been going on dates, or maybe you guys have been hanging out, and things are starting to build up more and more and more, yet she's talking to other dudes, she's texting other guys, she's liking their photos, maybe she's even subtly talking about them in conversation to you. And I've seen this a variety of different ways. I actually just recently got a comment on one of my videos. The guy said, so what about when the two of you are at a point of being serious and exclusive, yet she's still texting a squad of assorted exes, friend zoners, work hubbies, old booty calls, past crushes, former flames, and expects you to be okay with it because they are all just buddies she was already texting when she met you and you didn't react initially. All right, because a lot of the red pill content or like the dating content will say, just be non-reactive and act like it's not a big deal, which to some extent, if you are just first talking to a girl and it's extremely casual and you guys are barely even dating, or maybe you're going on one date, you're not really in a position to have any sort of authority over who she's texting because you guys aren't exclusive, you aren't dating, it's not on that level. But as you can see, like going from first date to inevitably getting to that level, at some point in there, where is the breaking point at? When do I step up as a dude and like put my foot down or have a talk about this? And what is the way in which we actually have that talk without me coming? Isn't that me being butthurt? I don't want to be a butthurt guy, but I also don't want to be a beta that she keeps talking to all these dudes. So how do I play this out? And I've seen this a variety of different ways with men. And I mean, I've made this mistake myself too, right? So I guess the very first thing to understand is that if you are just first starting to talk to her, I really don't think that you are in a position to bring it up at all, at least not about her, okay? And a lot of things I've learned is that you can explain things in a relationship or as you're dating a girl, you can explain a lot of your viewpoint on things without telling her directly what she needs to do, right? And that's actually a beautiful thing is that as you guys continue to hang out and you guys spend more time together, when certain topics come up, you don't need to tell her directly that you need to stop doing this thing right now and I don't like this thing that you're doing, but you could talk about girls that you've either dated in the past or what your previous relationship was like, or if you were to be in a relationship, things that you would be expected of your girlfriend, certain behaviors or ways that she would act would be like this, right? That doesn't necessarily mean it needs to be her, especially if you guys are just starting to hang out initially, right? But there have been a lot of times I remember because like me and Doha, we hung out for like almost a year before we ever made things official. So there was a lot going on in that year, and over time, over the course of the second half of that year, obviously it was very much so like a relationship, but we just weren't official. But the first half of that year, the first 6 months, there was a lot going on. Right? I was running a pickup channel. I'm teaching cold approach. I got videos out online. We weren't even a thing for the first couple months, and we were friends initially. So she actually was texting other dudes. We weren't even hooking up at one point, and she was on the phone FaceTiming some other dude while we were chilling. And I'm not in the position to say anything because we're just friends. We're not even hooking up. So I had to go from that to eventually we completely stopped all that. Like she stopped talking to other dudes. So how did that happen? How do I not talk about this in a way that makes me butthurt? Well, at first you can't say shit because you're not in the position to. But here's what will happen is time goes on. We start spending more and more time together. We are not official, but we start spending more time together and the vibe between the two of us is building up. And what should be happening if you're doing things properly is that she should start to like you more and more and more. And honestly, you should be liking her more as well. Like the vibe should be building, but I'm saying that her desire to want to be with you should be increasing over time. That will continue to build. And eventually, if you do things properly, it could be in 1 month, it could be in 3 months, it could be in 6 months, it could be, in my case, 9 to 12 months, which is honestly very long, right? It doesn't need to be anywhere near that long. I'm just saying it could be somewhere in that scope. But at some point, the girl, assuming she wants to be with you, she will start dropping hints or little jabs or little sprinkles of potential exclusivity, right? And that might start something like, are you talking to anybody else? Or maybe she finds this hair. Oh, whose hair is this? right? I know so many dudes have experienced that. I used to fucking hate that comment back in the day, but I lived in my mom's basement. Whose hair is this, right? Or if you're bringing the girl out, she might say, oh, do you bring all of your dates here? You know, or she might just straight up ask you at some point, are you talking to other women? Okay? It doesn't matter what phrase it is. She might not say any phrases. She might just start wanting to do more special activities with you. She might want to not just hang out with you. Maybe she wants to go out like for a weekend somewhere, a little bit more of like a getaway or a little bit more of a fancy thing, where you hang out with her friends, you meet her friends or her family. Things will start to progress, okay? What you don't want to do is try to push the relationship on her. That's the problem, is by you pushing the relationship on her, you now have no negotiation room because you're the one pushing for the relationship, okay? You want to create enough attraction over time, more and more and more, that it is her decision that she wants to be in a relationship with you. I'm not saying that you go avoidant. I'm not saying you dismiss the whole thing. There's a lot of like misconceptions around this stuff, around dismissive, avoidant, toxic, red pill bullshit, where we're not showing any emotion. I'm not talking about that. You can actually display the desire of enjoying spending time with her and wanting to be with her while simultaneously still respecting your boundaries, okay? And as things progress further and further, at some point, if you're not pushing for the relationship more than her, even if it's 50-50 or even if she's pushing for it a little bit more, at some point, we can now have a conversation about this stuff, okay? That would be the equivalent of a what are we, or where do you see this going, or how are you feeling, or what's going on, I'm in the dark with things. Those are the phrases that you might hear. The talk is gonna sound something along those lines. It's girls starting to have questions, or she wants to have a talk about these things. Great, that's not a problem. You want to get to that talk. That is her saying, I'm feeling a certain way, and I wanna sign a deal and have a relationship. Like, I'm leaning towards that. Can we get a contract going here? Right? A relationship is a non-written contract. It's a verbal agreement based on everything that's happened between the two of us, that the dynamic between the two of us is gonna go this way. So with the moment that the girl is ready to have that talk, and it's not you forcing her to have that talk, you cannot beg and plead her to get to the negotiation table, because then she's the spoiled brat looking over the contract. What's this? I didn't want that in my thing. Please, will you please just sign the deal? I don't want that thing. And then you start compromising yourself just to try to get a deal going. That's not how this works. You need to lead with value and creating high levels of attraction and desire, where the girl wants to be with you long term. She will want to stay with you because she sees value in you, and she feels comfortable and safe and secure around you. And so she wants to stay long term with you. That's why she would have a talk around exclusivity with you. So the talk is essentially you guys going to the bargaining table. Yes, it is a negotiation. Yes, every single relationship is to some extent transactional, and that's okay. Because if you're going to be in a long-term relationship with a partner, I think you guys should actually be able to openly and consistently, emphasis on consistently, communicate with each other about what's going on with each other's behaviors and what's acceptable and what's tolerable, and so you guys could be in sync. Couples are not doing that enough. Some couples don't do that at all. Some people never even have a talk when they get into the relationship, and that's why all of this bullshit happens to begin with. All right, if you're not checking in consistently checking in with what's going on weekly, about what was done that was appreciated, what was done where there was a potential problem, what was something that was maybe bothering you. Can I understand your perspective on that more? Did you feel loved when this thing happened? Like you guys got to get really, really in sync with each other and frequently communicate these things. Otherwise, the whole thing just gets out of sync. All right, and this is why dudes fuck this up, because if you've never had experience with this, good luck trying to run and to lead this in a relationship when you've never done it before. Good luck, bro. So you get to the bargaining table, and now we can talk. We have a conversation about this. So we want to get into a relationship. Okay, great. Well, listen, there's a couple things that I've been wanting to discuss with you before we even move forward with that. There's some things that have been on my mind that I want to have a discussion with you about as to what I think should be allowed and not allowed within a relationship, right? So you guys need to be able to have a healthy, non-reactive, non-confrontational conversation about these things, which is, if you've never done it before, it's going to be difficult, but you really need to be able to stay calm through all of this stuff. All right. So then you have the conversation. You just say, hey, listen, I really enjoy spending time with you. Maybe it even gets to a point where she's kind of pushing it on you. If she's pushing it on you, you say, yeah, let's have a talk. What's going on? And she's like, well, I just want to know, like, what are we, or where do you see this going, or blah, 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 blah. And you can say, hey, listen, I've had so much fun with you over the last blank amount of months, or however long it's been, right? I think we're so good together. I think you're so special. I think this is so unique because of blank, like actually articulate to her why you really appreciate the relationship, why you actually could see yourself being with her, and why you're down to actually do this, right? And that's not beta, by the way. You should actually be able to very clearly articulate that to a woman. Keep in mind, we're not begging her to come to the negotiation table. That's where you dudes get this whole thing wrong. You're begging and pleading at the bargaining table. You gotta, that's not how a boss goes to the negotiation table. You go confidently to the negotiation table, and they're hoping that you sign the contract, right? And you're down to sign the contract because there's potential value here if the terms make sense. That's what this is all about, okay? Hopefully these analogies are hitting for you guys. But this is where everybody goes wrong. You try to push it on them. They need to bring this up to you. Now we have an open and honest conversation about the whole thing, and you just say, hey, I think it's great because of this, and I really enjoy you, and I want to explore this with you, right? And so you ask her how she's feeling about the whole thing. She's going to talk, and then you just say, there's a couple things I wanted to discuss with you, though, that I personally will not tolerate in a relationship, right? And I have seen these things, so I want to talk about them. And that's when you could then bring up, it's the DMs, it's the texting, it's the work buddy, it's the blank, right? It's all those things that I just read in that previous comment. It's not going to be all of them. That was an exaggerated example. But it could be some of these things, okay? And that's when you have a conversation about the whole thing. And now get ready, because some girls are going to try to justify a lot of these things. What you don't want to do is get into a back and forth crazy argument about the whole thing, where you actually start getting reactive and you start getting pissed off. You need to be able to stay calm through the whole thing. And she's going to say her piece. She's going to try to defend the male coworker. She's going to try to defend the dude that she's always calling. And you just say, hey, listen, I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm not saying whatever, blank, blank, blank. What I'm saying is to move forward in this relationship out of respect for what I'm going to have with you in this, like out of respect of the relationship. That in my opinion is disrespectful. Like, you cannot be entertaining that on the side. You cannot be doing that thing. And be prepared to just stay calm and have a conversation about it. Now, the one other thing I will say is, if the girl can't even have a normal conversation with you about these topics, you need to pay attention to that, because that in itself is a red flag. Like, if when you bring up these topics and you're being very chill about them, if the other person is getting super riled up, super defensive, super confrontational, you need to do everything you can to stay calm, and you need to maybe even address the fact that their communication is changing. And you're gonna need to sit through that. You're gonna have to be the bigger man, right? It's not just for this one thing. I'm just talking about relationship advice in general here, though, right? But you're gonna need to be able to have those conversations. But more importantly, like, you can't fold in those conversations. And also, if the person that you're trying to be with isn't down to have normal, civilized conversations about these things, and if she's not willing to compromise any of these things either, well, that's why we haven't moved into the relationship yet, because you haven't given away any of your power. If she starts defending the whole thing, you just bring it back. You say, hey, listen, I'm not trying to get into an argument here. I'm just explaining to you, I really am excited about continuing this relationship, or turning this into a relationship, or you being my girlfriend. However, I'm not going to get into a relationship with a woman who's doing blank. Okay, and I'm not even saying you need to remove this thing right now. I'm not even saying we need to jump into a relationship right now. I wanted to have a conversation about this in a normal, civilized way, that these are some things that I notice that I can't be in a relationship with a girl who's doing those things. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on this? And then you guys talk it out. Now, you don't even need to come to a conclusion on that talk. This will happen over time. And the way that you guys have the back and forth conversations more and more and more, you will gradually get more in sync with each other. Over time, you guys will get more and more in sync with each other. All right, that's why it's frequent communication. Most people, they don't have these kind of check-ins or talks ever until there's something massively brewing up inside. Like, that's what happened to me in my relationships. I would never talk about these things. I would go to my friends. I would talk shit to my friends about what's going on in the thing. And then I have this negative image of the other person building up more and more and more hatred. I have more hatred brewing up. And I start to think all negatively about the relationship. I start to think negatively about the other person. And I'm literally talking shit about the person that I'm potentially getting into a relationship. I'm talking shit on them publicly to my friends, which is what most people do. That's crazy. Think about that. Think about how fucked up that is. Like, you don't even respect the relationship. Do you get that? You don't even respect the relationship. Otherwise, you wouldn't talk negatively about your girl to other people. What the fuck? Like, that is not... You need to assume responsibility for the relationship. You are the leader in the relationship. And I don't think you should be publicly talking negatively about your girl. Personally, like that's my thoughts. I'm not saying I haven't made this mistake in the past, but I've made a lot of these mistakes. I'm just speaking from experience now. And actually what happened in my own relationship, I didn't ever need to have that one specific talk on the front end. What I noticed was as the attraction grew more and more and more and more and more, and she was desiring to be in the relationship, over time, the other dudes will kind of fall at the wayside the majority of the time. Like, from my experience, if the girl is still doing all of that, I don't think she's like fully in your frame and really, really about being with you. Like, so you're most likely playing things wrong. And I've seen a lot of advice online. It's like, you got to put your foot down. You got to call that shit out. You got to do this and that. I don't think you need to do that so early. That's something that should be happening as the vibe builds up between the two of you guys. And her attraction starts to grow and her desire to be with you grows more and more and more. Now your value is going up and up and up. The more she wants you and wants to be with you, the higher your value is going. The higher your value is, the easier it is to negotiate. I'm not trying to say this in a manipulative way. I'm really not. I am really not. Everything that I try to teach you guys is to have open, honest communication, but it's always coming from a confident frame. It's coming from a place of confidence. It's not a dark manipulative tactic to seduce the woman. It's you lead with value. They get drawn in. As you guys continue to build together, you should be leading and communicating with each other. If it gets to a point where you guys are about to be exclusive or take it to another level where you're really going to be serious, there needs to be conversations going on frequently about what's accepted, what's appreciated, and what's not accepted or tolerated in the relationship. 100%. 100%. Anybody tells you otherwise, that's don't display your feelings, close off from the girl, she's not about to take a hike. That's dismissive, avoidant, toxic behavior. I swear to God it is, because I've been that guy, right? And that's not how you get in sync with your partner. That's not how you actually lead a woman. You're not showing her how she should actually be with you. And that's where it's all fucked up, is you think you're supposed to have a partner that just perfectly aligns with you. And if she doesn't align, that no other human being is just gonna fucking mesh into your life and just do everything for you and just be perfect for you. It takes time for you to lead a woman and get in sync with each other. And this is the mindset, and this is how you should go about doing that. All right. If you want to get more social confidence, more emotional intelligence, if you want to have stronger relationships, you want to land your dream girl and be happy in a long-term fulfilling relationship, just really deck out you as a man, become top 1% of men. I can help you with that. All right, click the button down below, click the link in the description, check out the brand new coaching programs. You can work with me directly. I also have a brand new one-on-one coaching program for 2025. If you want to work with me one-on-one, that's just for my high-level dudes. All right, obviously that's an investment, but all the coaching programs are down below. Click the links. That's all for this one, guys. We'll talk soon. Peace out. Let's go.